So video 7 takes us back to a new object called a line. Okay, how do you draw a line on a screen? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out all the previous code, go back to scratch, get into the habit of doing this, right? Forget everything you've known and let's just work our way through it. First of all, when we started, we wrote a point, if you remember, right at the beginning of the videos. We wrote a point, we gave it 2 values, and then we asked it to draw. We said, can you draw it, please, yourself? Right, if you remember that, put a comma in there. Let's just run it and confirm. Oops, bear with me a second. I'll show you my error because I think it's important. I wrote that. Can you spot the error? I didn't. All I did is I ran it and it flashed the screen up. I thought, hey, that's odd. What's going on here? Then I noticed in the draw, you've actually got to put the window linked to that window. Otherwise, it's not going to draw it onto that window. Right, so let's do it again. There we go. Can you see the point? There it is there, 23, 24. So it's 23 across, 24 down. Quite tiny and quite small. Okay, now a line is made from 2 points. So let's get rid of the draw. Let's define 2 points. Let's make up 2 points. So point 1 we'll put at 23, 24, and point 2, and all P2 represents is just a name. I'm going to have a second one, point at say 200, 300. Okay, so I've got 2 points, right, defined. Now I'm going to use them inside the line. I get a line, and with a line you put each point separated by a comma, point 2, and then just like a point you can ask it to draw. So now I'm not doing anything else at the moment. I'm just going to draw a line between those 2 points, and that's how it looks, right, when you just get the raw concept onto paper, onto the screen. Just run it. Can you see that? That's drawn a line from those 2 points, starting there, ending there. Okay, so that will give you an idea of how to draw a ground. If I said to you, draw me a ground, for example, a horizontal bit of ground, and you would say, okay, sure. Now at the moment I'm not storing any of this line information. I've just simply drawn that. Let's say the very first one I want to do is across the ground. So I want to make the horizontal value smaller here. Let's just say it's 10. Okay. And the vertical value I want to keep the same. Right, now if you're not sure about what I'm saying in terms of these numbers, put those numbers in, have a guess what you think it's going to draw, right, and then run it. There you go, it's drawn a little bit of thing from 10 across, 300 down, to 200 across, 300 down. So if we made that slightly wider by changing that to 500, right, and ran that, there you go, it runs across there. Let's say that I wanted to put a line poking up from that line here. Say, I don't know, it doesn't matter where it is, anywhere there. Let's put my cursor there. Where would that be? Well, vertically it would be at 300, but it would have to start at 300 and go straight up. So actually it would have to have a point starting there and a point ending here. So let's get a third point. And I'm deliberately doing this in this long-winded way just to get you the concepts clear in your head, right? And because of coding, you can just copy and paste your previous code and just change some numbers. So I need 2 more points for my second line, P3 and P4. The first point, if you remember, let's just get the screen back again. Bear with me a second. Get the screen back again. I'm going to say, let's start the line here. So that, how far down is that? That's 300. How far across? It could be anything, it could be 50. So it's 50 and 300 down to start. So let's go 50 and 300. Then my fourth point, I want to have same distance across. I want it to go up to about there, roughly. So actually, the distance from this edge, the horizontal is the same, so it's still 50 that way, but it's not 300 coming down, it's slightly smaller. So it's 50, as I said there. Let's say that it's 100. Okay, so let's close down those windows and rerun them. Bear with me a second. Oops, it's just popped an S on the screen, and let's run that. And did that work? Actually, it didn't do anything. And why didn't it do anything? Can you spot the obvious thing? I didn't draw it. I've got to get a line. I've got to say line, draw yourself. But don't do P1, P2, do P3, P4. They're the points for this new line, and I tell you to draw yourself. Right? Run, and there you go. There is a line now poking up. What happens if we turn this into a bit of a hangman? So from this point here, I want a short line going across here. Shall we try that? So what would the first point be would be the same as P4. Agree? That's where the other point is ending. But where would this point be? It would be the same y value, because same distance down, but actually longer going across the horizontal. So if we add another point, let's call it P5, and this point is horizontally going to increase. It's not 50, let's say it's 150 going across, but distance coming down is going to be the same as the P4, 100, right? Let's get a new line drawing bit of tools, squeeze that in, and in this line we're going to go from P4, whoops, what am I doing? P4, comma, and we're going to go to P5 and draw it. Okay. Notice I'm not storing any of these lines in a variable. Later on, you will have an opportunity to do that, and you might find that very, very useful. Okay, in the same way. But for the time being, we don't need to worry about it. Let's have a look what that shows. Look at that. So there we go. The basis of Hangman. Here you go. You have the basis of making a game, Hangman game. And if you could work out how to code this, every time they got a letter wrong, it would draw the next line. Every time they got the next letter wrong, they would draw the next line. And you can work out, you can see how it's very simple to make a little game out of this. So I'm going to stop this video here, because that gives you a nice introduction to lines in terms of drawing them. We haven't moved them, we've just drawn them. We haven't given them different colors. But do you think before you click on for the next video, you could work out how to change their color? Could it be set outline again? But the problem with set outline is that are we going to be referring to the same line? Do we need to store the line in a variable? So we'll come back to that in a second, and then we'll look at moving. Now moving a line is quite tricky, as we said with moving a point. How do you know it's moved? So what we'll do is we will start with these here. Well, maybe what we'll do is we'll move this line, this line going down across, right, a little bit to turn it into a T, something like that.